Okay, I'm going to set up DNA keycards on my server here. I'm going to use the DNA configs to spawn some crates dynamically. So I'm going to pick 5 or 6 spawn points and have one spawn. So each time the server restarts, it spawns a different place. So first I got to install the keycard mod on my server. And I'm using a LAN server so for a test. So I'm just going to put the DNA keycard there and put the mod folder in here, and I put the key in the keys folder. I'm going to start my server with the batch file. And then I'm going to wait for the folders to generate, which would be in my profiles folder, aka config folder, or SC if you're using GTX. So it should show up here. It just showed up, so I have the 2 subfolders in there. And I'll go in the system and main, go in the main system config, and at the bottom is where I'll put my coordinates. I have yellow crate coordinates, green, blue, purple, red, so I'm going to use some red. Have strong room locations. So to do this right, I'm going to go into editor. I'm going to shut down my server first. And I'll go into editor. So to do that, I just subscribe to Daisy Editor. I'm not going to put that on my server. So once I sub, I'll have it here. Select that. I'll select these that come up. And DNA. So now I have all these selected, and I'm just going to push play. I'm not going to start my server for editor. So I'm going to open editor and choose my map. I'm just doing Cherno here. This is a fresh install of DNA on my server, so it's all vanilla right now. Nothing set up. No, I'm not placing anything with editor. I'm just using editor to get my coordinates. So I'm going to press M for the map. I figure I'll put some red crates in the high tier area, so I'll go up to Tizzy and they'll all spawn up here, but players are going to have to search for them up in Tizzy. So I kind of like this bunker thing that's here. I'll put a red crate down here. Let's see, where's the red crates? DNA crate red. Put it in ground mode. Raise this guy up. So there's one placed. And let's see, where else should I put it in Tizzy? Put one in here. So when you place a second item, make sure you click off of your previous item so they're not both selected. It's a little bug in Editor. It won't deselect the previous thing. You don't want to be dragging 2 or 3 things at once without knowing it. So let's lower this down. You can hold shift. Well, to get here, I just double click on this little blue dot, hold shift, and use my middle mouse wheel to lower this. If I hold shift, it goes slow. If I don't hold shift, it goes fast. I can hold shift and wheel my mouse to do it slow. So there's 2 placed, and if I push M, I can see where I placed them. Here's 1, and here's 1. Go over here. You place 1 on top of this roof. And I can open this little box again and rotate it with this. Slide it over out of that pile of dirt. So I got 3 there. Place a couple more. Put 1 up here. The mouse is kind of weird in Editor. Sometimes it doesn't click where you want it. You can also right click up here, go to Properties, bring up that same box, move it around without trying to drag. I'm going to hold shift and lower this slowly. Make sure it's touching the ground. It's close enough. Got 4 red crates placed. I'll do 1 more, maybe in the tent area. So I figure players will have to all come up here if they find the red crate, the red key card. Then search for the red crate, maybe get in some PvP action. So I'm just going to set, once we go to the config, for just 1 of these crates to spawn in 1 of these 5 places. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They'll have to run all around Tizzy, find them. So I can save this as a DZE file just to have it and load it later easier if I want to. Cherno DNA crates red, save. Sort of a backup, but to get the coordinates I need to export this as some other file. So I'm going to go to File, Export. You could do init.c, probably give you the coordinates. A JSON file, events would give the coordinates. Object spawner would. I'm going to do map group pause. I just like the way that is formatted. I'm going to export the selected items. Oops, what happened there? I'm going to select these all. Export the selected items. DNA, red, crates. Pause. Oops. Export that. And I'll go to my editor folder where it exports to. That's in Documents DAISY Editor. This is the pause file, and nothing's there. So that didn't work. So let's go back here and File, Export. And do it one more time. I don't know why that didn't work. Still didn't work. So let's export it as now it's auto saving every 10 seconds. Go to preferences if it's auto saving too much. Turn that timer up. Export. Let's just do an object spawner JSON file. Okay, so I have pause and YPR. Now I just have to take these coordinates, copy them to the main system config, red crate locations, blue, purple, red. It has to be in the right format here. There's probably a different thing I could export it as to get it in the right format. I don't do this very often, so. Okay, so when I do this, I don't want commas between each coordinate. They have to be in parentheses, and there has to be a comma after this one, just like you see here in this blank one. There's a comma, no comma after the last one in the little group. So I have the location. I need the YPR, so it's -63. I'll just type in -63.0. Double check, -63.00 and 0. Next one. Put a space. Space. Get the YPR. On to the third one. Get the third YPR. Number 4. Like I said, there's different options to export it as. All you need is the coordinates. Doesn't really matter. There's probably a more efficient file type to export it as, but just get the coordinates out of whatever file you export it as. Place them in here. Now, if you have a YPR and it happens to have a -0 in one of these, you're going to have to put -0 on in your main system config also. Just they're not always going to be 000. So just pay attention to that. So just double checking, I have a comma after each one. No commas in between the coordinates. I have the yaw for each one. Pitch, roll. Got all 5 here. All 5 of my red crate locations. So go back up to the top of this file and you'll see these main system settings here. DNA option, use DNA to spawn crates. I'm going to say I want them to spawn randomly. This is if you're using the DNA config file. So if you're using editor, you're just going to have it off. You're going to keep it 0. If you're using a DZE file from editor, I'm going to use DNA config files to spawn my red crates. So I'm going to say yes randomly. Skip the rest of these. Go down to how many red crates to spawn. Red crate spawn count. If static or off, ignore the setting. Don't set higher than the number of available positions. So I'm just going to have 1 spawn because I only want 1 up there in Tizzy. So now it's going to spawn in one of those 5 locations, each server. Restart. And I'm going to set my red card usage to 1. It's already set that way. Save this. I don't need this export file anymore. I've got my types file in, so my cards will spawn. Now I did something here that's kind of fun to do. Took the DNA red inactive and I put it to spawn with the officer zombie. US soldier officer desert. I did cargo chance 100 and the item chance 100%. Then I close it with the /cargo. So we'll see if it spawns on this zombie in spawnable types. I'm going to start my server up. We'll check the latest script file. That is this one. Does it show anything in here? I'm using editor loader for other things. DNA. Config found. Loading settings. Container system settings. Config found. Loading settings, small crate config. Loading. Timer not in use. System not spawning yellow crates, not spawning green crates, not spawning blue crates, not spawning purple. DNA red crate spawned at this coordinates. So we did something right. Not spawning small or strong rooms. Gotta teleport to Tizzy. Don't know where that coordinates is that it said it spawned at. So I'll just check them. Not there. There it is. So I need a key. Is that an officer? Hey, you got lucky. Another one. I set it to spawn 50% chance on that guy, so chances are pretty good I would get one. Now you have to use the inactive cards on the server. So I spawned in DNA red inactive on this officer. When you activate them, and they're in your hand. Got some good stuff. Let's make sure it's not in here again. Nope. Let's see where it could be. Not there. There it is.